They ruled the most powerful empire on earth. They commanded armies, built monuments that still stand today, wore the double crown of Upper and Lower Egypt. But their names were chiseled from history, their faces carved away, their very existence denied. For 3,000 years, Egypt's warrior queens were erased, deliberately, systematically, violently removed from the historical record. Why? Because they were women who dared to rule as pharaohs. Because they threatened the fundamental order of Egyptian society. Because in ancient Egypt, the role of pharaoh was reserved for men, and those who broke this sacred rule had to be forgotten. But they weren't forgotten. Not completely. Hidden in tombs, buried in sand, waiting in fragments of stone and papyrus, their stories survived. And what we've discovered challenges everything we thought we knew about ancient Egypt. This is the story of Hatshepsut, who declared herself king and ruled for 2 decades. Of Nefertiti, who may have ruled Egypt in secret after her husband's death. Of Cleopatra, whose intelligence and political genius were buried beneath myths of seduction. These were not queens standing behind powerful men. They were pharaohs in their own right. And someone wanted them erased from history. To understand why Egypt's female rulers were erased, we must first understand what it meant to be pharaoh. In ancient Egyptian religion, the pharaoh was not merely a king, he was a living god. The earthly incarnation of Horus, son of Osiris, divine intermediary between the mortal world and the realm of the gods. This wasn't metaphor. Egyptians genuinely believed their pharaoh was divine, and divinity, in their cosmology, was male. The concept was called Ma'at, the fundamental order of the universe: truth, justice, harmony, balance. Ma'at required that men ruled and women supported. Men built empires, women bore heirs. When a woman became pharaoh, she violated Ma'at. She threatened cosmic order itself. This wasn't mere sexism, though it certainly was that. This was theological crisis. The entire structure of Egyptian religion, government, and society rested on the pharaoh's divine masculinity. So, when women rose to power through circumstance, ambition, or political necessity, they created an impossible contradiction. How do you reconcile a female pharaoh with a religious system that demands male divinity? The answer? You don't. You erase her. But before they were erased, these women ruled, and their stories are extraordinary.
The year is 1479 BCE. Thutmose II, Pharaoh of Egypt, has died unexpectedly. His heir is Thutmose III, a child, perhaps 6 years old, too young to rule. Egyptian law requires a regent, someone to hold power until the boy comes of age. That regent is Hatshepsut. She is Thutmose II's widow. She is Thutmose III's stepmother. She is the daughter of the previous pharaoh, Thutmose I, royal blood in her own right. She assumes the regency. She performs the rituals. She issues decrees in the young pharaoh's name. And then, around year 7 of her regency, something unprecedented happens. Hatshepsut declares herself pharaoh. Not regent, not queen, pharaoh. She doesn't merely claim the title, she transforms her entire personal persona. In official art, she begins appearing wearing the false beard of kingship, the Nemes headdress, the Shendit kilt. She is depicted with a male body, flat chest, broad shoulders, masculine physique. Inscriptions stop referring to her with feminine pronouns. She becomes His Majesty Hatshepsut. She doesn't just rule as pharaoh, she becomes pharaoh, rewriting her own identity to fit the role. And here's what the history books often overlook. She was extraordinarily successful. Hatshepsut's reign lasted approximately 22 years, one of the longest and most prosperous periods in Egyptian history. She commissioned massive building projects. Her mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahari remains one of ancient Egypt's architectural masterpieces. She re-established trade networks that had been disrupted during the Second Intermediate Period. The famous expedition to the land of Punt brought back gold, ebony, ivory, exotic animals, and myrrh trees, luxury goods that demonstrated Egypt's wealth and reach. She maintained stability. No major wars, no civil unrest, no economic collapse. By every measure, Hatshepsut was a successful pharaoh. So why was she erased? 20 years after her death, someone, likely her stepson Thutmose III, now ruling in his own right, ordered a systematic campaign of damnatio memoriae. Hatshepsut's name was chiseled from monuments, her statues were smashed, her cartouches were replaced with those of Thutmose I, Thutmose II, or Thutmose III. Her face was carved away from temple walls. It wasn't immediate. The erasure began decades after her death, suggesting it wasn't personal vengeance, but political necessity. Thutmose III needed to legitimize his own reign. Having a female predecessor undermined the divine masculine order that justified his power. Hatshepsut had to be forgotten. For 3,000 years, she nearly was.
In 1903, British archaeologist Howard Carter, who would later discover Tutankhamun's tomb, was excavating at Deir el-Bahari. He found something strange. Dozens of smashed statues deliberately broken and buried in a pit. The statues were of a pharaoh wearing the false beard and royal regalia, but the face, the body, the proportions, they were feminine. Carter had discovered Hatshepsut. Her erasure was so thorough that Egyptologists had barely known she existed. A few scattered references in king lists hinted at a female ruler, but the details were murky. Now, piece by piece, Carter and subsequent archaeologists began reconstructing her story. They found her temple, her obelisks, her trade expedition inscriptions, evidence of her building projects scattered across Egypt. And they found something else, her mummy. In 2007, Egyptian archaeologist Zahi Hawass announced that a mummy discovered in 1903 in the tomb KV60, previously dismissed as an unimportant royal nurse, was actually Hatshepsut herself. DNA analysis and a CT scan of a broken tooth confirmed the identification. The woman erased from history was found again. But she wasn't the only one. Her face is one of the most famous images of ancient Egypt. The painted limestone bust, discovered in 1912, shows a woman of extraordinary beauty. Elegant neck, symmetrical features, regal bearing. But Nefertiti was far more than a pretty face. She was the great royal wife of Pharaoh Akhenaten, who ruled Egypt from approximately 1353 to 1336 BCE. Akhenaten is famous for his religious revolution, abandoning Egypt's traditional polytheism to worship only Aten, the sun disk. This wasn't mere theological preference, it was a direct assault on the powerful priesthood of Amun, which had accumulated enormous wealth and political influence. By elevating Aten above all other gods, Akhenaten centralized religious power in himself. And at his side, depicted in unprecedented equality, was Nefertiti. Official art from Akhenaten's reign shows something never seen before or since in ancient Egyptian history. The pharaoh and his wife depicted as equals. Nefertiti appears in scenes of royal authority, smiting enemies, performing religious rituals, wearing the double crown. In some reliefs, she appears alone, larger than life, in poses reserved exclusively for pharaohs. Then, around year 12 of Akhenaten's reign, Nefertiti vanishes from the historical record. For decades, Egyptologists assumed she had died or fallen from favor, but newer evidence suggests something far more radical. Nefertiti may have become pharaoh. Around the time of her disappearance, a new co-regent appears in inscriptions, Nefertiti. This mysterious figure ruled alongside Akhenaten, then alone after his death, before the boy king Tutankhamun assumed power. Some Egyptologists now believe Nefertiti was Nefertiti, ruling under a new throne name, possibly disguised as male, continuing her husband's religious revolution. The evidence is fragmentary, a few cartouches, ambiguous inscriptions, statues that might depict a woman or an effeminate man. But if true, it means Nefertiti ruled Egypt as pharaoh for approximately 3 years. And then, like Hatshepsut, she was erased. After Tutankhamun's death and the end of the Amarna period, subsequent pharaohs systematically dismantled everything associated with Akhenaten's heresy. Temples were demolished, inscriptions were destroyed, the capital city of Amarna was abandoned, and Nefertiti, if she had indeed ruled, was removed from history. Her name appears on no official king lists. Her tomb has never been found. Some believe it remains hidden, perhaps in a secret chamber connected to Tutankhamun's tomb. The search continues.
Hatshepsut and Nefertiti are the most famous, but they weren't the only women who ruled Egypt. Sobekneferu ruled around 1806 BCE, the last pharaoh of the 12th dynasty. She reigned for approximately 4 years, depicted in official art, wearing both feminine dress and masculine royal regalia, a compromise between gender and power. Her reign ended the Middle Kingdom's golden age. Later king lists either omitted her entirely or listed her as male. Tausret ruled around 1191 BCE, initially as regent for her young stepson, then as pharaoh in her own right. She built a magnificent tomb in the Valley of the Kings, KV 14, one of the largest and most elaborate royal tombs of the period. After her death, her successor, Setnacht, usurped her tomb, plastered over her reliefs, and carved his own name over hers. Her sarcophagus was smashed, her memory was attacked. Cleopatra VII is the most famous, but also the most misunderstood. History remembers her as a seductress who used her beauty to manipulate Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. But the real Cleopatra was a polyglot who spoke at least 9 languages, a naval commander who led fleets into battle, a skilled politician who maintained Egypt's independence during Rome's expansion. She was the only Ptolemaic ruler who bothered to learn Egyptian, earning genuine loyalty from her subjects. She was educated in mathematics, philosophy, astronomy, and medicine. But Roman propaganda, written by her enemies, depicted her as a foreign temptress who corrupted noble Roman men. That image, not the reality of her intelligence and political acumen, survived in Western culture. Another form of erasure. Not physical, but narrative.
The systematic erasure of female pharaohs reveals something crucial about ancient Egyptian society. These women weren't erased because they ruled poorly. Hatshepsut presided over peace and prosperity. Tausret commissioned magnificent monuments. They were erased because their very existence was ideologically unacceptable. Ancient Egyptian kingship rested on a theological principle. The pharaoh was the living embodiment of Horus, the male god.
When the pharaoh died, he became Osiris, god of the dead. His son became the new Horus, continuing the divine cycle. This cycle required male succession, father to son, god to god. A female pharaoh disrupted this cosmic order. She couldn't be Horus. Horus was male. She couldn't father a successor to continue the divine line. Her reign was an aberration, a theological impossibility that had to be corrected retroactively. The erasure wasn't personal malice, it was institutional necessity. Later pharaohs removed female rulers from history to restore Ma'at, the cosmic order their civilization was built upon. Interestingly, women who wielded enormous power as great royal wives or queen mothers were never erased. Ti, mother of Akhenaten, was one of the most powerful women in Egyptian history. Her son's correspondence shows she was involved in diplomatic correspondence with foreign rulers. She was never erased because she never claimed to be pharaoh. The title mattered. The claim to divine masculine authority, that was the unforgivable transgression.
The 21st century has brought new tools to uncover Egypt's hidden queens. Ground-penetrating radar, DNA analysis, advanced CT scanning, technologies that reveal what ancient censors tried to hide. In 2015, archaeologists using infrared imaging discovered hidden doorways in Tutankhamun's tomb, leading some to speculate that Nefertiti's burial chamber might be concealed behind the walls. Excavations continue. In 2020, researchers using satellite imagery uncovered hundreds of previously unknown structures in Egypt, including potential tomb sites that might belong to lost rulers. DNA studies of royal mummies have revealed unexpected family relationships, suggesting some pharaohs listed as male might have been female, or that succession was more complex than official records claimed. New translations of fragmentary texts are revealing names that don't appear in traditional king lists. Every year, the historical record grows more complete. But much remains unknown. How many other women ruled Egypt whose names are lost entirely? How many queen regents wielded pharaoh-level power without claiming the title? How many inscriptions remain buried, waiting for discovery? The desert keeps its secrets well. The story of Egypt's erased queens isn't just ancient history. It's a reflection of how power, gender, and memory intersect. These women achieved the highest position in one of history's most powerful civilizations. They commanded armies. They built monuments that lasted millennia. They conducted diplomacy with foreign powers. They proved definitively that women could rule as effectively as men. And yet, someone decided they had to be forgotten. This pattern of erasure extends far beyond ancient Egypt. Throughout history, powerful women have been minimized, their accomplishments attributed to male advisors, their images sanitized or sexualized to diminish their authority. Queen Elizabeth I of England is remembered, but how many know of her military leadership during the Spanish Armada? Catherine the Great is famous, but often reduced to scandalous myths rather than recognized for modernizing Russia. Wu Zetian, the only female emperor of China, was vilified in historical records written by male successors. The erasure continues in subtler forms. But Egypt's warrior queens survived their erasure. Fragments remained, clues persisted, and eventually archaeologists pieced together the truth. Their stories remind us that power has never been the exclusive domain of men, no matter how hard history tries to tell us otherwise. And they challenge us to ask, whose stories are being erased today? Whose accomplishments are being minimized or forgotten?
What truths are being carved away from the historical record, waiting for future generations to rediscover?
Imagine being Hatshepsut, standing in her magnificent temple at Deir el-Bahri, knowing she had ruled Egypt successfully for over 2 decades. Imagine her looking at the reliefs showing her expeditions, her building projects, her offerings to the gods. Did she know that one day someone would try to erase all of it? Did she imagine that 3,000 years later, archaeologists would piece her story back together from fragments? Imagine Nefertiti, possibly ruling as pharaoh in the chaos after Akhenaten's death, trying to hold Egypt together during a period of religious and political upheaval. Did she know her name would be struck from the king lists, that her tomb would be lost, her reign denied? These women didn't rule for recognition. They ruled because circumstance, ability, and ambition placed them in power. They wore the crown because someone had to, and they were capable. And they succeeded. The erasure failed. Not completely. We've lost details, dates, the full scope of their achievements. But their names survived. Their monuments endured. Their stories persisted. You cannot truly erase someone from history. You can only delay their rediscovery.
Egypt's erased warrior queens teach us that power is not defined by gender, that authority, leadership, and divine right are human constructs, not natural laws, that what one generation tries to forget, another will fight to remember. The chisels that carved their names from stone failed. The propaganda that dismissed them as illegitimate failed. The institutional forces that demanded their erasure failed, because the truth, like these women themselves, was too powerful to be buried forever. Somewhere in the sands of Egypt, more secrets wait. More tombs, more inscriptions, more stories of women who ruled the greatest civilization of the ancient world. And we will find them, because now we know to look.